Vulgar Display of Power was the most important record of our career.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Neil. Happy birthday to you.
Do you know what's
bastard.
been really funny this week? It's been, I told you I didn't want anyone to know about my birthday, really. And people have been texting me, but it's all people that we work with together.
Yeah,
so like the
okay.
People Express crew are like, I better, yeah. So there's been all that, and I think, because I said to you, I didn't really want a fuss, and I was thinking, I know that you're behind this. I know that you are behind it.
No fuss. The thing is, I think we know each other well enough now to both know that if we say, please don't do this, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah, that's the way it is. I'm at that point now where, I know it's weird because like your 20th birthday just kind of goes and comes and goes. You don't really notice it, and then 30 is a bit of a big deal because you're like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore. You know what I mean? And I was like, and you still feel. I mean, boys still feel like they're like 7. You don't really grow up, and. I
had that comment in the car that I'm a perpetual like 14-year-old boy.
I think that's a fact. But so 30 bothered me a little bit, but not much because you're still indestructible a little bit. I remember we were still racing at 30. And I remember having a big accident at Donington and just got out, just like, sure, we'll go to the pub now. and I remember limping a bit, but basically being okay.
Yeah.
And then 40 kind of came and went, and I was like, well, just ignore it a little bit. But then through my 40s, I've got to a point now where it doesn't take a great deal. Yeah. And I'm in agony for weeks. Do you know what I mean? You like just have to pick, like we were talking about garden centres a minute ago. And all you got to do is go and pick up some composct. And that's it. Your body just goes, oh no, we don't do that anymore. And then you're like hobbling around the house for weeks because you picked a bag of compost up. It's rubbish. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of my birthday. I've gone off it.
No, it'll be all right next week.
It's good. The thing is, birthdays when you're like 7, they're brilliant. Yeah, because you get cake and you get and you can eat cake.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cake.
But you can eat it. You can just eat the entire cake.
Yeah,
and you're all right. If I eat an entire cake now, like my trousers stop fitting me and I want to vomit. And it's like all the fun things in life.
Yeah,
like it's just rubbish. Yeah, you don't get given Lego and Scale Electric when you're older. No. I've got some records though, which I was pleased with.
That's very good. Yeah, you got your turntable.
I did. Got my turntable. I'm loving my turntable at the minute, and I've been listening to some AC/DC. I've got a couple of Dillinger represses, Ironworks, and Calculating Infinity. Both of those, in fact, all 3 of those records are bound to be on the show at some point. Yeah. There's no way we can not do Back in Black.
Yeah.
And those 2 Dillinger records, Calculating Infinity is just phenomenal. And Ironworks is just it's probably my favourite Dillinger record. I played both for my kids.
Yeah.
They didn't like them.
Didn't like them.
My youngest is into Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
They didn't like Ironworks at all. He was just like, is something wrong with the record player, Dad? So I think, Taylor wins. What have you been doing this week?
Can't remember.
Can't you? You've been quiet this week. You've had to do work, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been very busy at work. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Work.
No, it has been quite busy at work. Yeah.
I can tell when you're busy at work because I don't get memes. I'm like, is Chris dead? I've not had an inappropriate meme that will get us like both fired or cancelled in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, I think memes keep me going. I think. Yeah, it's getting towards the end of the school term now.
Oh,
so everything
a couple
hots
of weeks,
up. Yeah, and then I've got nothing to do. You'll just get all the memes.
I do. I love it when that finishes because you're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my life now. And then it's that abject panic the week before you go back.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm gonna have to go back and do. I don't know what to do anymore. I had 4 weeks off once. One December, had 4 weeks off. And went back to work in the January, it was over Christmas, went back to work in January and literally sat on my desk and just thought, I've got no idea what.
Who am I?
I don't know what to do. I just I don't know. Because 4 weeks is long enough for you to be like written out of all of the. You're not part of anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, the only emails I've got is that things like I'm in trouble for not submitting my permit to drive, and do you know what I mean? And I'm gonna lose access to certain buildings unless I click a button. And there was nothing, and I just I don't know what to do. No. So like having all of that time out.
Yeah. We've got bean bags.
We have got to. These are exactly the same color as my AC/DC record. They are gold.
Gold bean bags.
I mean, somebody has selected colour. So I want a beanbag, and it's going to be gold.
The thing is, though, because we all sat on our normal studio chairs.
We are.
And I did think, wouldn't it be fun to sit on the beanbags? But there was two things with that. Firstly, beanbags are really noisy.
Yes.
So all you'll hear at home is through that. And the second is once we sit down, we're probably not getting back up again.
No, you're not. Beanbags are for life, aren't they? You have to like, do I need a wee? Have I got to go anywhere later? If the answer is yes to either, beanbags are out. If you've just been for a wee,
you'll be all right.
And you've not had a cup of tea in the last.
Post wee beanbag sit. That's
if you've not had like a cup of tea in the last half an hour, you're good. Beanbags are in. They're fine.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want you need as well to be to know there's going to be a time when you can roll out of it, right? Because I think getting out of a beanbag, there's like if you see teenagers, they just get out.
Yeah,
they're like, I want to leave the beanbag now, and then they just stand up.
Bit of core strength off.
And then but like when you're kind of in your 40s and 50s, you can try that. But you look a little bit unwieldy.
You're definitely making noises.
Definitely. What I realised is that if you're in a space, if there's a bit of space around, you can just roll out, and you kind of end up on your hands and knees. But it's very ungainly.
This is the voice of experience.
You don't look cool.
No.
Doing that. That was how when I had a Lotus Exige.
Yeah.
And I remember pulling up to the Lotus Owners Club, and that's how I got out. I literally, I can't remember. I kind of rolled out, and I was literally on my hands and knees by the car, and everyone just
that's got me.
Everyone just looks at you. They just like you get the nod. They're just like, all right,
because everyone else has got out in exactly the same way.
Right, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
It's actually part of the deal of the club is that's how you have to get out.
That's how you get it on your hands and knees, just looking. I mean, you just look weird. So this week it's Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power.
We're only 7 minutes in.
Are we?
Discussing the actual subject of the podcast.
I've got something to. I got a bit grumpy about this.
Yeah,
because I tried to do a quiz where I challenged our listeners to guess it, and I've done it a few times before. But the thing is, I think people that listen to our show, they're quite good at this.
They are very good at this.
So I tried to do a clue.
Yeah.
And I did the clue based on where the name came from. Where the name came from The Exorcist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I kind of thought, well, no one's going to get that. I'm going to say this album got its name from The Exorcist.
Yeah.
No one's going to know that.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Everybody knew it. They were like, obviously it's that. I was like, So I very nearly I'd written this and I knew we were going to do it, and I'd very nearly was like, oh, screw you then.
That's it. We'll do a different album.
I'm doing a different album. But we're doing Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
It's not my favourite Pantera album, if I'm honest.
It's not mine either.
Is it? What's yours?
I think ours are both different though. Because I imagine you're a Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah.
I'm a Far Beyond Driven.
Yeah. Cemetery Gates was it just threw me. Cemetery Gates. I was in my mate's Ford Capri.
Yeah.
And this came on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. It's just, he was driving us into school because that's how things rolled. How things rolled back then. And it was just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And I just kind of fell in love with him a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Vulgar Display of Power came out, and it was like a step up. It was like this, I don't know, like Cowboys from Hell was, like I thought Cowboys from Hell was their first album.
Yeah. That was a long time. There was a few albums before.
Yeah, the kind of hair metal stuff that they did, the kind of bluesy stuff. And then Vulgar got just, I don't know, it just felt like it was just full of hatred and anger. And it was just this album that was, if you're a teenager at that point in time, it just got you. Totally, like it's got you hooked. and then Far Beyond Driven came after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vulgar Display of Power for me. I don't know. I probably listen to it the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and the singles are on there. Like Walk is on there.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
which
it's
is
a
huge.
standard. It's a metal standard, isn't it? Of course.
But there were a couple of others. It was like Sleep and Hollow.
Riffs.
Yeah,
Just
they
riffs
were,
everywhere.
They're ballads,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
But they've got this kind of hook in them that you just didn't expect. I remember listening to the album for the first time, and Sleep comes on, and then it kind of ends. And there's just this. I don't know, it just gets under your skin, and you have this just amazing impact from it. And the sound, the production and sound from it, from this album. I mean, Cowboys to me was
There's
great.
only one band that sounds like Pantera. That's the bit for me. There's only one Pantera. Well, there isn't now because there's obviously the new tour with the new lineup,
the modern
the modern Pantera. But the that sound, that really kind of metallic's the only way you can describe it. It's really sharp sounding. It's really piercing.
It is.
It's a really like driven, punchy, aggressive kind of sound. It's very dry as well, actually. Although I think the guitars tended to have a little bit of delay on it and stuff, but it was a very direct sound. It was direct into your ears.
Drum sound, is for like I think. The drum sound feels really dry.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of texture to it. You can kind of like
it's processed.
Yeah,
it's definitely processed, but it's not processed in a way that you'd normally expect it to be with lots of reverbs.
I think it's massively compressed. And
yeah.
But I think Terry Date was the producer.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really liked about it is it's really dry. It's 1992.
Yeah.
This album.
Yeah.
But you get this texture, so this kind of click, that kind of clicky bass drum, and the drum kit in general is like it's a super textural. You can kind of almost feel it. So it's an amazing sound. But if you kind of just roll back for I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, like kick drums were soft.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would mic them at the front.
Yeah, and
here they're miking them at the
next
front,
to the pedal,
next to the pedal, so
yeah.
you're kind of getting that slap as it hits it. And the same with the if you look at how Pink Floyd mic drums, they're kind of mic'd on the outside or on the bottom of the toms, whereas this stuff is quite clearly mic'd, at the back as well, but on the front and then a little bit further out, and you get this. I don't know, just phenomenal sound. I think where the drums they're not just there to keep time with the band. It's not just like a kind of a boom dish, but you know what I mean? It's got the drums for this album. To me, the drums stand out compared to lots of other albums at the time. The drums are the bit that really, really stand out to me. Always reminds me of And Justice for All.
Yes,
that dry production. But like not but only for the drums.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? The drum sound for me has got that kind of similar.
Let's have a listen to this because we've described it. Let's just have a quick listen to some so people can hear it.
Do it.
Yeah, it's proper got some smack to it, hasn't it?
It has, lovely, but I think it's its own thing.
Yeah,
it's part of what makes the sound unique. The guitar sound, so Dime's that guitar sound is super unique.
Yeah.
The drum sound at the time was super unique, and then you got Phil Anselmo's vocals, which, again, like no one sounds like Phil Anselmo.
It's interesting because it's a little band, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
There's 3 of them, right? Or 4?
There's 4 of them in there. There's 2 brothers, yeah.
Yeah, the bass, guitar, drums, vocal.
Yeah, it sounds...
Whereas like every other band knocking about at the time wasn't that thing. It was keyboards here and there and everywhere. There's lots of other layers of instruments and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that because it's there are fewer instruments, you can kind of make them sound bigger and punchier and that kind of
space
thing.
In there. It's fascinating though the production for this, because when you listen to it, there's space in there. You can hear the instruments. You can hear what's happening. Like Rex's bass, for example, you can hear it. There's some amazing bass work on this record. But if you're not analysing it, it just hits you like a wall.
Yeah,
it's just this kind
yeah.
of massive slab of that. I wanted to play a little bit from an interview that they gave as well, where they talked about the making of Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
So they talked about coming off the back of Cowboys from Hell, being really big in Texas, and then like having the rug pulled from underneath them as they went out on tour with like Exodus and a bunch of other bands, and they suddenly started to realize actually we're not all that.
Yeah. We were the big fish.
Yeah.
No,
So we're going to listen to that because I think it really it gives you this insight into where they were mentally when they wrote this album, because it is a really angry album. There's nothing pleasant about this record at all. It's all of it is kind of dark, negative. Do you know what I mean? It's
rage.
It is. And the vocals are. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But let's play a little clip of the interview.
We had conquered Texas, and we were packing out clubs, and we were used to sold-out shows, stage diving galore. This is back when real circle pits were circle pits and violent, but very controlled chaos, and with rules, hidden rules of the day. Someone stage dives, you catch them. And then we got our first U.S. tour, which was with Suicidal Tendencies and Exodus. And we were obviously the opening band. And all of a sudden, we were the tiny fish in this massive ocean called the rest of the world. There were several audiences that didn't like us, didn't understand us. So by the time we got around to recording Vulgar Display of Power, the chip on our shoulder, our collective shoulders, was massive.
I mean, Texas though, like, you just associate Texas with country. I know that's really ignorant. I know that's so ignorant of me. But
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. It's that sort of stuff. And then suddenly, like, this was. I mean, I don't know. You get the impression that Pantera were really proud to be, Texan.
Yeah. Phil Anselmo is incredibly outspoken. We'll come on to that in a bit. I don't think I'd realised quite how fractious his personality was. I mean, he had addiction problems and things, but yeah, he was.
That's the thing I always remember from everything that I watched around the band when they were sort of doing the big tours and the Monsters Ball on MTV and all these sort of things. That band were associated with Jack Daniels. That band, that's. I'm sure there was a T-shirt. Yeah, it was just like a Jack Daniels bowl.
It's like Jeff Hanneman and Heineken.
Yeah.
He always drank Heineken.
Yeah.
And so whenever you saw him on stage, Hanneman would always have Heineken, and there's loads of T-shirts with it's the Heineken logo.
Yeah,
when they've replaced it with Hanneman.
Yeah.
There are bands that are like that. I think, they were really, really proud. They were. I mean, Anselmo got in a lot of trouble later on. For being outspoken, but it's worth pausing a little bit though and thinking that they had a bit of success with Cowboys from Hell, and I'm looking down here at my sheet which tells me the record sales. So if we look at the first record they did was 1983.
When you sent this over, I was blown away. How the numbers of sales for this particular record in comparison to the others is incredible.
They went from 10,000 for Metal Magic in 83, 25,000 for Projects in the Jungle, 30,000 for I Am the Night, and 40,000 for Power Metal. They were a radically different band back then, kind of bluesy, rock band. Cowboys from Hell was 1 million in 1990. So they went from selling 40,000 to 1 million albums. And then Vulgar Display of Power in 92 was 2 million. And Far Beyond Driven was 1.9, and then Great Southern Trendkill was 1 million, and Reinventing the Steel was back down at 500,000 again. But I think after Cowboys from Hell, they were this kind of massive band. I think they'd got this perception that they were a massive band.
Yeah.
And then, as you heard in the interview, they kind of went off and toured with some other bands, and not everyone liked them.
No.
Whereas
no.
in Texas, I think they were like, oh, everyone loves them. They were
Yes,
like the local, everybody wants them to do well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when they came back in the studio, they had that, like here Phil talks about, that chip on their shoulder, that kind of, well, we'll show you. Do you know what I mean? You think you're good at this. We are going to show you. We're going to be the best band, the hardest band. We're going to do it. It's identical to where Slayer were. So
really?
If you there's a bunch of interviews from Kerry King. So the driving force behind Slayer was Kerry King, and there's some interviews from him saying that they went to see, I think it was Metallica. They went to see Metallica play, and they were like, oh, well, if that's what they're doing, we're going to go faster. And it was all about, do you know what I mean? People think they're good.
Yeah.
Wait till they hear how fast we can.
Yeah.
And it's very similar here, isn't it? Where they're kind of saying, yeah, okay, these other bands out there, maybe massive, but we're going to be bigger. This attitude they went in the studio. There's another clip from that documentary that we've plagiarized from, which I want to play, where Terry Date was talking about the work ethic.
Yeah.
And just how hard they worked in the studio, which you wouldn't expect listening to them.
No.
So we'll play a clip of that because I think it's really interesting.
They did things on their own terms. They didn't care about what major labels or what other people were telling them to do. They did what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it.
It was a very, very, very focused record.
The work ethic was pretty intense. Our hours were 12, 13, 14, maybe longer. I remember a lot of sunrises on that record.
And this is back when everything was analog, there was no cheating. So it took take after take after take, every chorus.
It's also worth mentioning in this that midway through this album, they got a phone call to go and take part in that Moscow Peace Festival.
Oh, really?
That was happening. So, like Skid Row and Aerosmith and Metallica and AC/DC.
I think Bon Jovi were there as well.
Were they?
Yeah, I think
bet
so.
Bon Jovi would have been up for that, wouldn't he? But it was like, no one knows the exact number of kids that were there, but people are putting it between 700,000 and 1 million.
Wow.
And Pantera with that. You know what I mean? They just kind of like, we think you should come and do this.
Yeah.
And they were just literally dragged out the studio.
Yeah.
To flew them to Moscow.
Yeah.
Blew some songs out and then went back and carried on. And I just think it's phenomenal that time in history.
Yeah.
How I don't know how different things were.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, they I think the thing that hit me from that interview clip was just the focus on them. That they were so driven. To succeed, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Talking about the recording, it was recorded at the Pantego Sound Studios in 1991. Terry Date was the producer and the engineer.
Right.
Vinnie Paul was the co-producer. So Pantera getting involved in that. We've not talked about hardware yet, but a classic Neve 8078 console. So
nice.
Analog console straight to analog tape. It says they used a blend of vintage and modern mics. So they used a Shure SM57 for guitars and snare drums, the Neumann U87 for vocals and overheads, and the AKG D112s for kick drum. Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing is, when you sent this through, and I was reading through these, sometimes you expect to see, well, I do, for records like this, you expect to see something boutique-y,
bit wacky,
kind of, like really high, and it's really standard equipment. It's not, I mean, the Neumanns are quite expensive, but in terms of like, what was going on, it was a really kind of, fairly straight, standard, clean, clear recording setup.
I think it was the tone from Dimebag's guitar. That was Randall amps. Yeah. So the solid state amps, not tube.
Yeah.
And I think you can it's the bite from it, it's the aggression from it, which I thought that was really interesting. Vinnie Paul's kit was a Tama kit, maple shells. paste cymbals. I don't think it's the kit that's necessarily making the sound there. I think it's the miking.
Oh, okay, the miking.
I think it's the miking of how they did it. You just kind of getting that super dry sound from it. But
it's everything is very direct. Although there are kind of short reverbs on the snare and the toms, and there is space there. That's been added, but it's all, the idea is it's very direct to your ears, the whole thing. So
it is. I think the album itself, to me, it always, if you mention Vulgar Display of Power, I kind of think of tracks like Walk, Mouthful War, what it begins with, but then there's a bunch of others. They're all pretty aggressive, right? Kind of fucking hostile, no good, live in a hole, by demons be driven. The two tracks, I want to play one of these now, but the two tracks that always leap out at me when I listen to this after not listening to it for a while, are This Love and Hollow. We're going to play This Love now, because I just love the way that, I love the meaning behind it. It's kind of a how love can make you feel. But I just love the way it begins, and you kind of, it lulls you in and pulls you in and then punches you. And it's just this phenomenal thing. And the track was all meant to be about that, but this is This Love.
Tempted one, stole her from herself.
The thing about that is that dude can sing.
You didn't expect it, did
No,
you?
because he's normally that kind of like, you know,
Screamy screams.
yeah, and then suddenly, it's kind of like the what's Slipknot man's name again?
Corey Taylor.
Yeah, it's like that, isn't it?
No one expects him to be able to sing.
No,
either,
he
but can.
smashes out this amazing kind of shouty vocal, and then sings beautifully.
Yeah, it's the texture to it. The bit I love about that song is it's that kind of calm. You saying it sounds like Bryan Adams. It's got that rotty kind of, and it has. It's got that kind of, and then, but you don't. It goes from that to and you know what I mean. It's just there's no. I don't know. You kind of don't expect it.
Yeah.
And then it goes from this kind of calm and quiet, and then the screamy screams. And I don't know. I absolutely love it. I love the dynamics in songs. And that one is one that I particularly like. The other thing I wanted to highlight on this album is that there's very little in the way of like other songwriters or other people involved. It's just the band. So often. It'll be the band, and the band's mate, or somebody else will get involved. And I don't think there is on this album.
It feels to me like they're the kind of band, it talked about the work ethic earlier.
Yeah.
They're the kind of band that lock in, and I bet on tour, once they've had a bit, they party out and stuff.
Yeah.
But once they've done a bit of that, I bet they're writing while they're on tour. It feels like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it could be actually. Yeah, I think you might be right. It was,
and they'll try ideas out at different shows. Like we've got this new thing we wrote last night. See what you think. That kind of stuff. You can imagine they're doing a lot of that.
I think Dime is, and one of the things that doesn't get mentioned a lot about this album, the solos are pretty much one-off. Like on the spur of the moment.
Yeah.
So the way it's always described that the solos are done on this album, and the solos are phenomenal. We'll have to play a couple of clips in a minute. We're basically that. We need a solo for this song, and Dime would just like plug in,
shoot one out,
and play it, and then just like put the guitar. Do you know what I mean? and
he was a wizard. There's no one that could play guitar like Dime.
Phenomenal.
There's
But
no one that could play
we
guitar
talked
like
about
that.
Slash.
He made it talk. It was so strange. Sorry.
It was technical though, wasn't it? It was. Yeah, but you're right. He had this technical ability with the guitar, but also had that feel. And we talked about Slash last week. And Slash having that feel.
Pure feel. Yeah.
And I think Dime had that thing where it was a bit of both.
Yeah.
He was able to be incredibly technical, completely understood the guitar and the production of the guitar tone as well.
Yeah.
But then had this just amazing feel, because like absolutely equally at home, slapping out this massive slab of riff.
Yeah.
To these kind of intricate, delicate solos, and the thing that is, I think, phenomenal about this album is the way those solos work with the song.
Yeah.
It's not kind of an Eddie Van Halen. It's not super twiddly.
No, it's storytelling.
It is. It's just. I don't know. It feels like you said. It's almost like a voice. It's like somebody's.
That's someone. When I always used to watch clips of Dimebag and listen to him and go, that's someone who. That guitar is like an extension of them. And I know that sounds like the cheesiest thing in the world, but I think with certain guitar players, it's true.
Yeah,
where it is actually an embodiment of their being. That instrument is.
You imagine you can imagine him if he wasn't playing the guitar, just not knowing what to do.
Yeah. Should we listen to a couple?
Yeah, go on. Let's listen to some solos.
Two things I want to say before we go any further.
Yeah.
The first is Although I thought that I'd nailed the vocal sound for our podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm evidently still tweaking every single
You
week.
are. I watch you. You're very pleased with it, aren't you? Today?
Yeah, I like it. It sounds good. Secondly, can we talk about that bass sound, please?
Oh, Rex's bass sound. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, for that.
I honestly, I implore you, right? Get some headphones on and turn it up a little bit and just zone in on that bass sound on that song. And throughout the album, actually, it's so beautiful and percussive, and it's like, my assumption is like an Ampeg maybe, with that kind of sound.
Spectre bass, Ampeg.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And just, I don't know, just in the pocket.
It's lovely. Isn't it?
Yeah. It's really good sound, that is.
I think Walk as a song was the biggest single. It was a massive single. And I think what doesn't get the credit is Rex's bass line.
Yeah.
Kind of. There's the riff that Now there's a temptation there was just to run the bass line with it.
Yeah.
The bass line would go, do you know what I mean? And have it bob it. I think if they'd have done that, you'd have ended up with this kind of bobby. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It would kind of almost been a poppy kind of sound song, and it doesn't. And I think it's because Rex's bass line just kind of trundles on in the background. The kick drum sounds excellent through that, but then the solo comes in, and it's like, I mean, you described it as playful, and I think that's what it is. It's
he was having the crack. He was just mucking about. Yeah.
Fast. It's technical. It's like melodic.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, and from what you read about these recording sessions, that would have been one take, one go, just okay,
okay.
All right, God, I've got to get up. Do you know what I mean? And do you know, I mean, just it's just absolute wizard, I think, and just phenomenal sound. And I think, Metallica did St. Anger, and Bob Rock said no solos for you.
Yeah.
A little bit of me died inside. I was like, what do you mean they're the best bit? Why are you not doing that?
Don't tell them that.
And it's just,
you bad man.
We've already discussed that Bob Rock wasn't the devil.
Right, let's listen to another solo. With that solo, the key part for me for that is the control he has over that guitar.
Yeah,
it's absolute control, like totally, like the bend, bend where it's harmonized, and he's going like, it's so synced, it's unbelievable. Like, that's hard. That's hard to do that.
He's very, very talented, and the solos like that for me, it's almost like he's singing through the guitar. It's kind of like, with your voice is part of you, isn't it? And you can choose what to make it do. And you get the feeling that's what he's doing. But do you know what I mean? Just through it's almost like an instinct. Just make that sounds. But phenomenal guitar work all the way through this record, I think. And I think in general that everything, all of the playing is phenomenal through this. The drums for me there was a tendency around this time for blast beats and fast stuff. And there's a tiny bit of that in here. But actually, it's not. It's kind of more Motley Crue than Metallica. Right? It's they've got a lovely sound to the kit. But Vinny's drumming is, I don't know, there's just something, it's kind of very heavy and very impactful, very powerful. But it's not like just mega fast. There's bits of it that are. I mean, the way the album starts is kind of like that kind of fast, shreddy guitar work and some fast drums. But
when you hear a title like Vulgar Display of Power, and you actually think about the light and shade that exists within the record, it kind of defies the title a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of moments where there is a cemetery gates, like Hollow is kind of that sort of song, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I know there's the one that we played earlier where it kicks a bit, but there are even though it's an album that on first glance might present itself as a bit of a kind of monster all the way through. It's not, yeah. There is light and shade in there. There is kind of balance.
It's not a Slayer record, is it?
Yeah,
it's
not.
You know, it's not. It's aggressive, but it's aggressive in terms of lyrics and the vocal delivery.
Yeah.
But actually, the band, the rhythm section of the band, it's just massive. It's groovy. It's got this huge riffs and groove, and that's pinned down by the bass and the drums.
Yeah.
I think as much as the guitar work that's in there.
Which gives Phil and Dimebag that platform, that really strong, stable platform in order to kind of like provide their voice, be it the voice through the guitar or the voice through the kind of vocal.
I wanted to change track a tiny bit. When we talked about commercials and we talked about the sales of the album, I meant to talk about how it compared with other albums around the same time.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I think this is really interesting. So, Slayer did Decade of Aggression in 1991, sold 500,000 copies.
Yeah.
This album sold 2 million. Megadeth did Countdown to Extinction, which sold 2 million. Soundgarden did Bad Motorfinger, which sold 2 million.
Yeah.
And then you've got these two absolute juggernauts in the same year. Metallica's The Black Album, 60 million in the US, and Pearl Jam's 10, which was 13 million.
Yeah.
So, but what I think was interesting about it is the fact that those contemporaries, this was, this was incredibly popular.
Yeah.
At the time, even though you'd got Soundgarden, the kind of grunge was starting, Nirvana was starting. You know what I mean? All of this stuff was changing, and you can see the tail off of kind of these kind of metal records as people bought. And I don't think it's that like grunge killed metal, but what I think happened was kids were listening to all kinds of different stuff, and they were suddenly there weren't just a few bands that they liked anymore. There was a lot of bands, and so they spread that across. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting. The Black Album, Pantera quote as being a significant influence over this album as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting because we talked when we did the Black Album. I think it was where we started this like Monster Shop 2.0.
Yeah. Was that the first one we did?
The second one.
Oh
no, because we started with In Utero, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting is we talked about the impact of Metallica's Black Album. Kind of saying to other metal bands at the time, you can slow down.
You can slow down.
You can be, you just
true.
focus on the riffs, focus on the production, and do you know what I mean? And the songs. And do you know what? That's exactly what Pantera did.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Before we go, can we talk about the album cover?
Oh, yeah, the album cover, the cover
There's
art.
a great story behind this.
I just didn't realise this. We've got a clip of the artist talking about it. But they wanted, like, Phil Anselmo's a big boxing fan.
Right, okay.
And he knew what he wanted. He kind of had this vision. He said, actually, I want somebody punching somebody.
Yeah.
So they started to just send tons and tons of these clips of boxers. And Phil was just like, that's not it. That's not raw. That's two professionals. Do you know what I mean? Competing.
Yeah.
That's not what this album's about. This album's about someone getting absolutely leveled outside in the street. This is a completely different thing. So off they went to work with an artist whose name I have lost. It's on my sheet somewhere, but I've forgotten. Brad Geese.
Yeah.
His name is spelt Guice.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether to call it Guice, Juice, or Geese.
I like geese.
One of those.
Yeah, I like that.
But
Guy.
Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
He, for the photographers out there, he was super famous in the world at that point in time for doing what they call closing curtain photography. So what you do is you have a long shutter speed. So the shutter speed's open for a long time. Normally you don't want that. Normally you want your shutter speed open just long enough to take the shot. Otherwise it won't be sharp, right? Because if anything moves while the shutter's open, it gets blur.
Yep.
And what he was really cool at was kind of having these long, like 1/8 shutter times. You get the movement, and then what you do is you close the shot by what they call closing shutter. So as you're about to close the shutter, you flick the flash.
Yeah.
And then what that does is freezes and you get this incredibly sharp
Yeah.
image with the blur in the background.
Gotcha.
And so anyway, they wanted that, but with somebody being punched.
What's that called? That technique?
It's called closing shutter.
Right.
Well, that's what I call it anyway.
Yeah.
It's probably got a proper name somewhere. But you can, and when you go into your flash config on your camera, you can tell it. Do you do the flash up front, which is what normally happens, or do you do it when the shutter closes?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's when you do it, when you need to do it at the closing shutter for that to work.
Yeah.
Anyway, the bit that I love about it was the fact that they wanted like a long-haired model to come in and get punched.
Right.
While they did it. No one knows whether it was hit 30, 31 or 32 times. So the Wikipedia page says 30. I think Phil Anselmo says 31.
Yeah.
And Brad himself says 32.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely bit in this clip where they talk about that. But yeah, they basically just dragged this model in and then punched him 30 odd times. And took the picture. But yeah, it's a phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a big
bit of artwork.
Yeah.
Let's play the clip and then we'll close down with some tunes.
The album cover was definitely a bold statement, exactly what that record did. A punch, to society, like, check this out.
I remember Dime taking a picture of a face and putting it on his dad's copy machine and taking the face as it was copying and moving it so it blurred across like the cover does.
To me, it made sense, that album cover, to have a guy getting punched in the face, because I knew what a hardcore boxing fan Phil was.
First thing they brought us were all these pictures of these boxers fighting each other. It's like, no.
Oh, okay.
That's not what we're looking for. That's not what Vulgar Display of Power is. It's some guy getting jacked on the street.
They wanted a hand, a fist, hitting a long-haired guy. And at that time, long-haired models were extremely popular. I was calling everybody frantic. I was even considering going out and casting it off the street.
Some guy off the street and...
just a dude off the street?
A dude off the street, man. The label.
At the last second, I know Ford Model Agency called me and just said, hey, we have a long-haired model coming from LA. And he came in and he was perfect for the shoot. His name was Sean Cross. We ended up becoming very good friends, best of friends. He was actually one of the groomsmen in my wedding, actually. At that time, I was getting really well known for a style that I was developing, and that was like a lot of movement to photographs and photography. I would take images and I would combine strobe with tungsten, and then I'd put the shutter speed of my camera at a slow shutter speed, like an 1/8 of a second or 1/30th of a second. And through the movement, it would blur and it would become soft, and you'd have these like striking like movement to pictures. So I was well known for that. So I believe that was obviously the reason why they called me, because they wanted some kind of drama to what could just be a straightforward picture.
I guess it turned out to be an actual punch that was captured from somebody.
The man on the cover was paid $10 a punch and was hit in the face 30 times to get the right picture.
£10 a punch.
£10 a punch.
I don't know whether I would get punched for £10.
No, I'm not sure about that.
What's your punching price?
20 quid.
12 quid. It's like,
Yeah, 20 quid. But looking at that album cover, they weren't mucking about. That's a punch. That's
it's
not.
Lovely,
they're not mucking
it?
about, are
it's,
they?
I just love the fact the phone. There's a phone call at some point where I said we need a model. Oh, okay, yeah.
What can you do with them?
Need
Punch them.
Need to have long hair. Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah. Got some of those here. Yeah. And then yeah, we're gonna punch them.
I think my favourite bit of the whole thing is the idea of that guy getting punched, and then suddenly they're like busy mates. And
I know, he did it at his wedding and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you remember that time you punched me 30 times in the studio?
got 10 quid a punch for that.
Yeah.
Dollars, sorry.
I think this album's been, it was an important album to me. Pantera were important to me at the time. I was at college and I don't know, they were, when you had a bad day,
yeah,
this would have been an album that I put on.
Yeah.
It was just one of those records that kind of I don't know, the riffs and the anger within it just speaks, like a lot of albums at that time for me. There were albums that I wouldn't have analysed anything in this. It was just the way it made me feel.
Yeah,
and kind of connected with what was going on in my teenage brain at the time. We're going to end with Mouth for War.
Yeah.
I love the way this begins in this album. Really sets out the way the record shapes up.
A statement of case.
A statement of it is. It's kind of like this. This is what's coming. Get strap in. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we've not covered what happened after this. We've not covered what happened with Dime being shot, because Dime formed Damage Plan and then got shot, and then with Vinny later, and obviously there's Pantera 2.0 out there touring, and I don't know how I was really torn with this, because it's Zach Brown and Zach Wilde and Charlie Benante.
Yes, yeah.
And I love them both. I think they're brilliant. But then I kind of think Pantera's Pantera.
Yeah, they're a big part of the metal timeline. And do you leave it where it was? That's the one, isn't it? Or and if it's new, is it Pantera? Is it something new?
And we also chose kind of not to dig in too much into Phil Anselmo's kind of racist, allegedly racist background. There's some interesting bits and clips of Phil over the years, and I mean I don't know what I make of it really. But, we kind of purposely chose to be non-political.
Yeah, definitely.
But great band. Fantastic album. Join us. We've got a blog. So if you go to monstershop.uk, you'll find our blog, which is great. So there's a blog that goes along with this, and we kind of write up a load of the stuff that we talk about.
And there's a Discord server.
We've got a Discord. There's a link to that on the blog.
Yeah.
So if you find the blog, you'll find the Discord as well, where we just chat about stuff. It's mostly me posting pictures of records at the moment. Look at what I'm listening to now. And then join us next week, where I think we're going to do something from Green Day.
Yeah, I think we have to. They're out and about, aren't they?
Cool.